Hi guys, we will be doing chapter 10, whereby we'll be doing user registration. And I'm with Lucky as my navigator and driver, and same applies to me. So, firstly, we are going to be adding our H1 tag inside of our register.ejs. And I'm just going to go there under views. Oh, Namawish. Okay, so I'm over here. Oh, what am I saying? So as you can see here on line 13, we've added our H1 tag between our div class page heading, and then next change, we change the form action to form action user register, and that will be on line. Where was that again? Huh? User register. Okay, I'm lost.
It's
Form
in
action.
line
Yeah, here on
33.
line 33.
Yeah.
And then which we combine it with a method and the in ink type and whatever. You listen to me. And then in the title field we change it to username field as known. So as you can see here, we've already done that. We've changed it to username and also password, and also we have changed it as well to register. And then so that is what I just explained here. And then um, inside of user.js, we basically let me go there. Just hold on. Okay. So inside of user.js, where was I? Okay. So then we added this module dot export function into our user.js, which is here. It's not here. Okay, so we just added this function, and then in index.js imported the new user controller with const new user controller equals to require controller new user. So I'm just going to go over to our index.js, and we will try as hard as we can to spot it. Here it is on line 14. And then we apply it to the root by app.get auth register new user controller, which is right at the bottom here on line 71. Then we've got, and then inside of our view layouts navbar ejs. We're gonna add this link class equals to nav id.
Sorry, Sharon. I can't hear you.
About it. Where is it?
Okay, I can hear
Yeah,
you
here
now.
it is. I think. Wait. New user. Okay, yeah, here at the bottom. So here it is on line 23. Oops, sorry, line 23, as you can see. And then we're going to move over to user model. So we're going to say const mongoose equals to require, and that is inside of our blog post.js. So I'll just go there and show everyone that it's there. So we have our const mongoose equals to require. So we have this code inside of our blog post. But it's so funny. I don't have this code. No, I do. Yeah, I do. I just don't have the comment. It says export model. And yeah, so that's so we exported our model into our blog post. And then if I move over to our handler user register, and inside of our store user.js, That is under our controllers definitely. Then we added our module.expect, which basically stores the user registration inside of our MongoDB, which I will show you right now in a short while. So I'm just gonna run it quickly. Start. So we can start our server and we'll be able to see it inside of. Oh, I really actually didn't have to start my server, but it's fine. So here is our user one and the password which has been hashed, as you can see, and our ID object, our object ID. Let's just try compare. It's obviously different because we are using, I think, different computers, and then we've got different IDs as well. And then I will move over to our password encryption, whereby we'll be using our bcrypt to hash our password. And then we are going to install our bcrypt method or dependency that is going to allow our passwords to be hashed as well. And then I'll move over to inside of our model user.js. We've got we are going to be adding our bcrypt require, the path, and also the function as well, the user schema.pre save function, and then that is going to be inside of our models user.js over here. There it is on line 4. There's our path, and here is our function as well that is going to be hashing our passwords. And then we are going to move over um, to page 100, whereby we'll be adding our user schema.pre. Now, this is still an explanation of the code we just explained. So, yeah, as I showed you inside of our MongoDB campus, you can see that our the bcrypt function is actually in place and it's working because our password is hashed. So from now, I'm going to hand over to Lucky and he will continue with the explanation.
Okay, thanks, Sharon. Okay, I will now be the driver, and Sharon is going to be navigating me. As we saw, she ended with Mongoose validation. That's where I'm gonna start. So far, we've used Mongoose to help us encrypt our password, and another important feature that we can use with Mongoose is to validate user entered data before we store it into the database. So we do this by creating new documents that Mongoose can help us validate the data before saving into the database. And how we do this is via the schema. So we have in our user.js in our models, we have a schema already for the user. But what we are going to do is ensure that the username is required and is unique in the database. So under the username property, we don't just have the type, which must be a string. We also say that it must be required, also required therefore is true, and unique is also true. And then we can also do the same thing for the password, setting required to true, but it doesn't matter whether it's unique or not. And then after that, we are going to log the errors, right? We are going to run our app and register a user without these fields. If we attempt to do that without the fields, it will give us errors, right? So we want to log those errors, and we are going to go to our controller here. In our controller, we have store user.js, and in store user.js, we have this line here, line 11, which allows us to log our errors to the console if we have a failure to store a user into our database, right? And then it's going to redirect us back to /auth/register, right? So basically, if you try to log in but your details, maybe the username is not unique, it's going to redirect you back to that register page again. So it's going to just refresh that page again. So if there's an error, it's just going to put that error in our terminal, right? It's going to log it to our console, and once we have errors logged into our console, we don't want the error to be something that will confuse the user. So we will display the error notification in the page itself. But yeah, we do this by redirecting to the auth register, so the user knows that there's something wrong when with their details, because it's just not going to allow them to register. After this, we're going to be doing the user login process. And in the user login process, the first thing that we do is that we go to our login.js controller, and we are going to change the page heading and change the label to login. Sorry, this is views, not yes. In our login.ejs views, we are going to change the page heading to login. As you can see here, we have it set to login on line 13. And then after that, we're going to change the form action to submit the data to the root /user/login, right? And then after that, we're gonna go to our controllers folder, and we created this new file called login.js. And what login.js does is that it renders the login view, right? So the login view, if you remember, is the one with all the blogs and whatever, the home page basically. And then after that, in our index.js, we're going to import the login.js controller. As you can see here, we have the login controller, and it imports, it requires the controllers /login file, right, module that we're going to use. And then we're going to register the root with app.get auth/login, and then the function that we're going to be calling is in the login controller module, right? And then after that, we are going to add a login to the navbar, so that a user can log in just by simply clicking on a link on the navbar. So in our views, in layouts, in navbar.ejs, we are going to create as a list item, we're going to create login here, as you can see. And then we're going to add the href attribute. We're going to make it /auth/login. So when you click on it, it sends you to this route over here, right? And then we are going to be also looking at implementing the login process to compare password and redirect to the home page if the login is successful. So we're going to do this by going to the controllers folder, and we're going to have a new file here called loginuser.js. And then in loginuser.js, we have this code here. Let me just make this larger so we can see it. We have this code here. We've imported bcrypt, we've imported the user model, and what we do is that this is a callback function, and in our callback function we set the body of the request, right, to these attributes here, username and password. And then we find just one entry in our database that has the same username. If we find it, we have a promise here to handle that. So if we do find the user, we just compare the password with the password that was given. And then if the user ID that we get, right, from the session, the request of this current session is the same user ID that we have in our database, we're going to redirect to the home page. Otherwise, we're going to redirect back to the auth/login page, right, to indicate to the user that the login was not successful and they must log in again, right? If we didn't find the user at all, we still run our else statement here, which does the same thing, just to notify the user that the login was unsuccessful, and it gives them an ability to log in again by rendering that login page again. And then if there's an error, we log that error to our console, and once again we redirect to the login, giving the user another chance to log in and notifying to them that there's a problem with the login process, right? And then after all of that, we are going to apply our login user controller, right? What this is going to do is that if the passwords do match, we are going to see the list of blog posts, but if they don't, we're going to redirect into that. But then once the user is logged in, they would be able to perform the actions right in our app. So how we do that is by creating this login user controller, and we create we import it. I'm sorry, I meant to say we import it to our index.js. We have login user controller here. We import it here, and then we register it as a root. And if you remember on our navbar.ejs, it was auth/login. I mean, it was user/login, the route that we are registering it to. The auth/login was something else, but this one is users/login, and the user/login takes us to this. It runs this controller here, the formula, the function in this controller here. So in summary, we created a user registration form to add users to our users collection in the database. The bcrypt package was used to hash user passwords, as Sharon stored us. Before we store those passwords, we also use mongoose validation to validate user entered data, and then we implemented the login process to compare passwords and allow the login authentication when successful. So I'm just going to go to localhost 4000 and just show the, oh, I didn't start the server, so let me just npm start. Let's see if this is connected. Okay, we're still waiting for the server. Okay, the server is running now. When I refresh, we get taken to our home page, right? And now we have this login button here. You can click on this login button, and then I'm just gonna put a user that doesn't exist. I'm gonna say, then I'm gonna put like a random password. See, it takes us back to the login page if it's unsuccessful. However, if I log in with the user that does exist and with their password, I log in, it takes us to the home page, as you can see. And also mongoose validates our request also to make sure that we do have a user account, right? So that is all for chapter 10. I was the driver, also the navigator, and Sharon was also navigating and driving. From me and Sharon, thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.